So a while ago, when Leonard told me about that he wanted me to preach, I couldn't understand. I was just kind of wondering, what am I going to talk on? And then what happened is, one of my friends, he's a businessman and he really does well, and he's just a beautiful person. He loves people. He works in that industry where he's just always working with people. And he's always energetic. Hey, you know those people that are always smiling? Always kind of having fun? This is that guy. And so when I went and I had coffee with him, I noticed he wasn't as enthusiastic. He wasn't quite as bubbly as himself. And what I noticed is he was running dry. Have you noticed how, because of the economy or because of all the stresses that we are living with, it's sometimes difficult to stay positive? And so I shared with him a principle that Leonard had shared in 2011. And I'll never forget it. I was sitting over there, and I wrote it down, and Leonard kind of drew it out on the whiteboard, and this impacted me. So I showed it to him, and I drew it on a piece of paper. It's nothing new. It's nothing wow, but it's practical. And so what happened is I showed it to him. He says, "Can I keep that?" So I said, "Absolutely. You keep the piece of paper." It looked like a Picasso, but it was okay. And then I came back to Len and I said, "Len, this principle that you shared, this has changed my life. This has brought balance back to me. You need to preach this again." He goes, "Absolutely, that's great. You preach it." Me and my big mouth. Shut up, little guy. But here we are. So today, I'm going to be preaching on the same thing that Leonard did in 2011. It brought balance. It's helped me in my life and helped me help other people when I'm counseling them. Here it is. Slow down. Oh, now people are laughing. You see, we're so in a rut of always running around. We live in this rat race where we're running from A to B. We're always in this fast pace, especially here in Gauteng. I think we're constantly chasing our tails. And the problem is, we don't even know it. It's the norm. It's what we used to. And God is saying, "Hey, I need you to slow down." Think about it. Everything in our lives is instant. We want instant. So we get out of bed, what do? We make instant coffee. I don't know why any of us want to drink it, but we do it. Then we don't want to slave behind the stove with this mixing pot making oats. No, what do? We get instant oats. In fact, some of the people are so impatient to get married that now overseas they do instant marriages. They do these drive-through marriages. Now, I want to just pause there. At that first window, is that where you go up to the pastor and you say, "I do"? Then you drive to the next window. Do you get your contract? At the next window, do you get your burger and that's your reception? I'm not quite sure, but it's interesting. I think it's a little bit strange. What's even more crazy is that you even get instant divorces. You see, you can go to these divorce-o-matic machines overseas and it prints your divorce papers. Can you see how we want everything instantly? That's the problem, is we constantly are on the move. Now, there is a problem when it comes to always being in a hurry. You see, when you're in a hurry, you miss the most important things in life. The time it takes to say, "I love you," to that very special person. When last did you do that, by the way? Don't have to answer now. The time it takes to have your quiet time or to spend time praying to God. The time it takes to show your appreciation to one of your work colleagues. Or even the time it takes just to honor someone where you say, "Thank you so much for what you do." You see, when we're in a hurry, we miss the most important things in life. And often we'll only say that to the people at their funeral. And can I say, that's too late. Because when you're at a funeral and you're telling people all the nice things that that person did, that's for us sitting in the funeral. We should be telling it to the person when they're still around. But when we are in a hurry, we miss the most important things in life. The second one is, when we are in a hurry, we're not observant. There was this young guy, he really put in all his effort at high school. He really studied and applied himself. Went to varsity, carried on those same good habits. Then he got a job, and he was really doing well, working himself up. And he got to the point now where he could do what he's always wanted to do. And that was buy a car, brand new, out of the box. And he wanted to get one of these really fancy cars, and he had earned enough now that he could go do it. And so he did. He bought the car of his dreams. And now one day he's busy driving this beautiful car, and he's enjoying life, and he's worked hard. And all of a sudden, he feels and hears this thud hit the side of his car. Now he gets such a fright. He looks over and he has this little kid with half a brick looking at him. So his temper starts revving. He pulls over this car. He gets out. He grabs this young guy and starts shaking him. Don't look at me and say, "Yeah, you wouldn't do that." I think we would all do that. And he starts shouting, "What are you doing? Why did you do that?" And this little boy has got tears running down his face. And he says, "Sir, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to do that. But I've been trying to flag down all the cars for the last 15 minutes. No one wanted to stop. You see, it's my brother. He's older than me. He's bigger than me. And he's in a wheelchair. And I was taking him to the shops. And as I was pushing him off the curb, I lost control. And he's fallen into the mud. I can't pick him up. I'm trying to get someone to help me. Please, can you just help my brother?" So this guy puts down this little boy, runs over, picks this kid up, puts him on the wheelchair, sorts him out, makes sure he's okay. Do you know that he didn't fix the dent in his car for months? Why? To remind him not to be in a hurry, to be observant. Because if he was just aware of his surroundings, he would have seen this little boy trying to flag him down. But he was caught up in his own little world. The problem with being in a hurry, we're not observant. Another problem that we face when we're in a hurry, we're not sensitive to other people's feelings. I went to a supermarket the other day, and I'm standing in the line, and there was this lady a little bit ahead of me, and now she's really impatient. She's in a hurry. And on top of that, the lady behind the till, she was nervous. And you could see she was battling. Maybe it was one of her first shifts. I don't know. But this lady was very impatient. And you know how people sigh really loud where they want to get your attention? They want to let you know that they're in a hurry. So she stands there. And so I look at this, and eventually she gets her bag. She doesn't even say thank you. She picks up her bags in this disdain, and she stomps out of the place. So I get to the front, and I say to this lady at the till, "Don't worry. She's probably just having a bad day. Just let her go." And she says, "Yes, sir, but I'm having a bad day. I can't get my mind into work. You see, my son is in hospital. It's the first time this little guy is away from me. And I'm only going to see him at the end of the shift." Can you see that when we're in a hurry, we're not sensitive to other people's feelings? Another point, when we're in a hurry, it drains our energy. There was a mom who was a really great businesswoman, high achiever, did a lot of things well. And so she was a mover and shaker. She had a high capacity. She did a lot in her life. And so she would run her business in the morning and really do well there. And then in the afternoons, she would take her kids and pick them up and take them to every extramural known to man. I mean, these kids did a lot. And then on top of that, she would help her husband with his business. And then just to go a step further, because she seemed to be superwoman, their neighbor lost his job. And so she was helping him out. But after a while, this started to wear her down. So she came and she saw me, and she starts telling me about her life. And I can see she's at the end of her tether. She's fried. And so I asked her one simple question. When last did you do something that you enjoy for you? And she just stared at me. It was like I was speaking a foreign language. I almost wanted to say, like, non comprende English. She's just looking at me. I said, "Do you want subtitles?" Because I was going to ask her another question and say, "Okay, when last did you do that?" I didn't even get it. She just stared. It was like those comic books or in the cartoons where you see the eyes. Bloop, 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 bloop. She didn't even realize. She was so out of balance in her life that she was frying herself. On top of that, She had a bit of a martyr mentality. You know what a martyr mentality is? Is when you say, don't worry, this is just my sacrifice. I just want to give them everything I never had. It's not about me. I don't need anything. Can I just pause there and say, yes, you do. We all do. You see, when we are filled, we can give out. If we are running on empty, how are we supposed to give to other people? How are we supposed to impact lives if we aren't filled ourselves? You see, the problem with having that martyr mentality is that you're doing all the good things for people, but internally, you actually resent it. You're doing all the nice things, all the good things, but you're constantly feeling used or abused, and you resent it. But if you take the time and you start to fill your tank and you start to actually be filled in your spirit, what happens? Well, then that's when you want to serve your family members. That's when you want to go into work and you want to help your colleague and give more to your boss. That's when you want to come to church and you don't want to just sit here. You want to get involved. You want to maybe serve in one of the ministries. By the way, the children's ministry, if you want to serve, they're looking for people. So if you want to serve in the children's ministry, go speak to the ladies at the front desk. Put down your name. Or maybe you want to get involved in a small group because you don't just want to come on a Sunday. You want to be able to enjoy something during the week. Join a small group. Get involved. It's a give and it's a take. But you can only do that if you are filled. You see, when we are in a hurry, it's going to drain us physically and emotionally. Now, the problem comes in, you don't always see it. It happens over time. It could take days, weeks, months, even years to start seeing how people get affected by that drain. But let me explain it this way. You'll notice in the past where they could make a decision quickly, as you ask them something, they're like, do this. Now, it takes longer. It's almost like they've got this brain fog. It just doesn't quite get to them, and they're battling to even think. Where they used to be incredibly patient, now they're on edge. Everything is a stress, and they're freaking out over everything. Where they used to show grace, well, now they're ready for a fight. In fact, they're looking for a fight. Where they used to bounce back from a bad situation, now they don't. They barely get up. You see, what is happening to them? They are physically and emotionally tired. They are frying themselves. They are running dry. Their serotonin levels are low. Sarah who? No, not Sarah. We're not talking about Sarah. Leave Sarah out of it. Serotonin. Now, serotonin plays a key role in your body's function when it comes to your mood, sleeping, your digestion, your body healing, your bone growth, your blood clotting. It's the feel-good hormone that you and I produce in our bodies. This is the thing that makes you feel like you're doing well in life. You know, when you walk into a room and you're like, yes, I'm confident. You know, when you've got a bit of a strut. This is the thing that makes you feel like, wow, I really enjoy how I look. When you look in the mirror and you're like, yes. Now, if someone's got a low serotonin level, they act more like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Have you seen that? You say to them, hey, how you doing? I'm fine. Everything's okay. And you just want to grab them and say, get a life. But they walk into a room, and it doesn't matter, even if everyone is smiling or having a good time, those people walk into the room and the light disappears. It's like they're light suckers. All the fun and the joy goes out of and everyone's like quiet. But somehow, if your serotonin levels are high, those are the people that walk into the room and it's like, I'm walking on sunshine. Can you see why I'm not on the band? They don't want me to sing. But those are the people that when they walk into the room, oh, that room just comes alight. You know, everyone's just bubbly. And I want to pause there and say, it's got nothing to do with your personality. It's got nothing to do with whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Because I've got a lot of introverted friends that hardly say a word. But when they walk into the room, man, that room lights up. They just bring such a warmth, such a love to the place. So it has got absolutely nothing to do with your personality. Now, how do we keep our serotonin levels topped up? Well, this is the question. How do you fill your tank? How do you fill your serotonin level tank? Now, when I think about filling my tank, it's about going to the petrol station and filling the tank. But in South Africa, it's difficult to fill your tank right now. So we're going to leave that analogy there. So let me tell you another story. Another thing that we need in South Africa, water. So I'm sick and tired of not having water. So I go to the shop and I want to buy a JoJo tank. And so I'm standing there. And you know when you can see someone's got no clue on what they're doing? I'm standing there, I'm going, what do I need? What do I need? What do I need? And eventually this salesman comes up, younger. And he's so enthusiastic. He's like, sir, what can I do? I'm like, I need help. So he's like, I'm here. What size do you need? Do you need a 3,000, a 5,000, a 10,000 liter? I'm like, you're talking Greek? Show it to me. So he goes, sir, this is a 3,000 liter tank. And I'm like, that is big, awesome. And he goes, this is a 5,000 liter tank. I'm like, that is massive. That's brilliant. And then he goes, this is a 10,000 liter. And I'm like, are you crazy? Does it look like I'm a 10,000 liter kind of guy? Look at me. I could live in that thing, let alone bath with my whole family. I don't need 10,000 liters. My family doesn't need 10,000 liters. So I start walking around. And eventually I come across the perfect JoJo tank for my family. So Yaku, can you please bring up my Capazorio appropriate size JoJo tank? Here it is. Thank you. My whole family can bath from this. It's great. So you see, what I want to show you here is if we open this up, right there, that's how we fill our tank. That's what's going in. So when you do a hobby, when you're playing a sport, when you're doing something that you enjoy, it fills your serotonin tank. But then there's the drain. So things that you don't like, things that drain you emotionally or physically, that's the drain. So there's always an input and an output. Things that fill you, things that drain you. But let me maybe explain it a little bit better. So can we bring up that JoJo tank up on screen? Fantastic. So now, if you look at your tank, at that level, that is when you are feeling good. That is when you are excited. That is when you're bubbling. When you look in the mirror and you're like, yes, Lord, I look good. So that is great. That is where we want to be. But for that to happen, we need to fill this. But the moment your input is less than your output, your input is less than the drain, that serotonin level is going to start to drain out. And you will start to notice the kind of effects of it. And so you'll see the person isn't as confident. They're a little bit insecure. They're a little bit on the back foot. And so what happens then, they will keep on draining, and it will actually go to about here. Now, you need to see those warning signs. And you need to see that something is different. Because if you don't start filling your tank, well, then it goes to the next level. And that is now where you start getting into this area. Now, this is a problem. This is when you start actually seeing there's a bit of an emotional breakdown. That's when you start crying and you don't know why. When you're so aggressive and you don't know why. Where you're anxious, where you're battling. Why? Because your emotions don't know how to handle it. Your body's going, there's something wrong. What's wrong? Your tank is running lower. Now, most of us turn around and we're like, no, man, I've just got to be a man. I'm not going to slow down. I can push through. And so we have this little bit of ego problem. We don't listen to the body. and we push through, fuss bait. And what happens is it drains us even more. What happens then is now we get down to this level. And this is where crisis hits. This is where your body says, that's it, enough. Warning bells start to go off. This is... Can't do that to a short person, man. This is where the body says, I'm tapping out. I've had it. And it goes, I want nothing. This is where you suffer a nervous breakdown because your tank is all the way down, where it is running on empty. There is nothing left. And that's when you find people are basically totally fried. That's when you really need to go for professional help. Why? Because your serotonin levels are absolutely done. So here's the question that I have for you. What fills you? What drains you? Now, for me, it's easy. What fills me, I love playing sport. I really enjoy it. It's really great. I love going on my motorbike and just driving down the road. I mean, Andre and that is there. He often says to me, Buti, it's time to ride. I'm like, it just fills me. I love going scuba diving. You know why? Because most of my job, I have to listen to people talk. Or I have to talk. When I'm under there, Nemo doesn't talk. It's great. But what drains me? A very tight routine. When I'm running from one thing to another thing to another thing, that bugs me. Or when I have to follow the same routine the whole time. Sometimes I'll just drive down another road because I'm sick and tired of going down this road. I don't like routine. I don't like to have to micromanage people or to be micromanaged. And that's why I'm so blessed to have Leonard, because Leonard doesn't micromanage me. He says, Caps, this is what I need you to do. I'm like, great, I'll do it. I don't need to be micromanaged. And so it works for me. But if he didn't, that would be a drain. Can I say not getting to bed early, where I can feel my physical is drained? Well, that affects me. That drains me big time. But now you might be saying, but Ron, I don't have time to fill my tank. I don't have the time. It's too much of a rush. Work is too busy. Why? Why? Why don't you have time for a hobby? Why don't you have time to fill your tank? Because you're too busy. Well, okay, yes. Yes, you're too busy. But you know what that's called? Suicide. Because you know what you're doing? What you're doing is you're going over to your tank and you're shutting the input. Now you're getting no infill. There's no enjoyment. There's no fun in your life. And all that's going to happen is you're going to drain. You're killing yourself slowly. Now, what happens is people that are high achievers, people that are very disciplined, people that work hard, they battle with this. They battle to slow down. Why? Because they feel that if they don't give this amount of output, well, then they're not actually contributing to life. They see that when they don't put in those hours, when they don't give that high level of service, they're messing up. And they're not going to be able to reach the goal. But I want to say that's actually incorrect. Because if you had to take this person and put them in a job, and you had to actually say to them, you do it, and they never took breaks, if they never filled their tank, what's going to happen? Over a while, their workload is naturally going to get less. Because you physically cannot maintain that pressure for that long. And so you're going to notice they're not going to be able to work as fast, as much, handle as many things. And what happens then is on top of that, their work quality starts to go down. They seem to be dropping all the catches. Why? They're running on empty. But you take that same person and you put them in that job and you allow them the time to go to gym, to read a book, to go and spend time with their family, to go on holiday. What happens? They come back and they are so charged up, they're so filled up that they seem to work faster. They get through things better. Their quality is way up there because they're taking time to fill their tank. Let me explain it to you from my own life. I experienced it this week. So this is not a sermon where I'm saying I've got this beat. I'm telling you now, I battle with this. That's what I said to you. It's helping bring balance into me. So a couple of weeks ago, my daughter brings home a newsletter from school. And it says, Parent Reading Day. So I look at this, and I can see my daughter just wants me to come and read to her. So I said, okay, Donna, I'll do it. So I signed the form, and I said, I'll be there. What happens? Murphy's Law. It falls on the Wednesday when I'm preparing for the sermon. And so I'm standing there now in the chapel, and I'm going through the sermon, and I'm really putting a lot of effort into it so that I'm prepared. And the alarm goes off and says, you better get to the reading thing. Internally, I'm going, I don't have time for this. I'm too busy. This is more important. I don't have time to go read the book to my daughter. So now I'm irritated, but I don't want to be late. So I pick up the novel and I storm out of the coffee shop and I walk to the field. And you know when someone walks with urgency? You know, I'm urgent about this, and I'm walking. And at that moment, I just sense God saying to me, hey, give this your best shot. Don't go in there with the mood. Don't go in there hurry and you just want to get through it. Enjoy the moment. So I walk into the teacher's class. I smile. The teacher brings my daughter to me and she says, do you mind if 2 other children join you? Their parents couldn't make it. So I said, no problem. So I take them. We go sit down in this gazebo on the field. It's a lovely environment. All the parents with the kids all spaced out. And I start reading Zoe's Rescue Zoo. The Lucky Snow Leopard. And I start giving it my best shot. I'm changing my voice. I'm putting actions into it. And I can check all the parents are going. You start seeing people move away from me. And some of the teachers, there is a teacher here that taught me when I was in grade 4. And she came to me and she said, Ryan, when are you coming to teach my class? I said, ma'am, anytime. And so I carried on reading. Some of the student teachers took videos of me talking about reindeer and Father Christmas. But you know what was amazing? We finished. And my little daughter gets up. She wraps her arms around my neck. And she says, Daddy, thank you for making it so special for me. Her friends get up. And they're like, Donna's dad. Thank you. That was awesome. When are you going to finish it? I said, okay, well, come on. Do you know I walked off that field? I was so on fire. I go back to the notes. And where I was battling before, now I'm like, yes, come on, Lord. Serotonin level's good. I'm like, yes. It just charged me. What was happening? I was filling my tank. And I needed that. But you see, the problem is we fall into the trap of when life gets busier, we shut it off. When work gets busier, we shut it off. When marriage gets difficult, we shut it off. And we allow ourselves to drain out. What did I say it is? It's suicide. And so you almost have to allow yourself more playtime when you're going through difficult times. Now I want to speak to the married couples or for the people that are about to be married. So you need to listen to this. You need to know what fills and what drains your spouse. You need to help them out. Now, ladies, I want to say, if he enjoys playing golf, if he enjoys fishing or going to gym or playing sport, let the man go. Guys, I take a mission. And you say, but you don't know him. I can't do it with him. Isn't that wrong? Well, here's my question. Do you want a miserable Eeyore at home sitting on the couch? Rugby, 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 rugby. Oh, no rugby. Or do you want a guy that walks into the house and says, baby, I'm home. Now, guys, I'm fighting for you here. Okay? I'm working on your side. But let me bring balance. You see, marriage and any relationship is about give and take. So if you want her to allow you to go play sports, if you want her to allow you to go fishing, make sure that you're filling her tank. Keep the balance. Not every weekend. Not every day. And let me do something for the ladies. If she likes shopping, I don't want to hear this nonsense. I'm not shopping. You want to play sports? You take her shopping. And you don't just take her and sit there on the couch at one of the restaurants and let her shop. You walk with the girl. You hold the handbag. You look great. But if it fills her, do it. So as a married couple, you need to know what fills you and what drains you. But like anything, life is all about balance. Because sometimes you get people that are so focused on their work. They're pushing hard. They're giving everything. They never take breaks. They never slow down. On the other hand, sometimes you've got people that have slowed down so much, they're practically dead. They don't work. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to get up in the morning. They don't even want to get out of bed. Their hair is like all over the place. And those are the people that say, I don't want to work. I don't want to cut the lawn. I don't want to wash the car. What's happened? They have leaned the other way. They've slowed down so much that they're literally catatonic. It's all about balance. You see, God wants us to work hard and play hard together. He wants us to make a difference in this world, but it starts with you. He wants us to touch lives. First, be filled yourself. You can only touch lives. You can only make a difference when you yourself is filled. And so we've got to stay in there. You see, the danger with busyness, it becomes a habit. Because we'll start running around from one deadline to the next. You see, this week, I've got a deadline, so I've got to push through. I've got to rush. I've got to make sure that I'm getting it done. And so you shut the input. Then what happens? Next week, there's another deadline. Next month, there's another deadline. And what happens? You get into this habit where you're living deadline to deadline to deadline. You never go away on holiday. You never take time to fill your tank. And that is the difficulty. And then people say, yes, but Ryan, I need to make the exception. Well, this is the thing. What's your exception today will become your norm tomorrow. What is your exception today will become your norm tomorrow. So now you're saying, but Ryan, are you saying I mustn't work late? Are you saying I mustn't go above and beyond? Are you saying I mustn't go the extra mile? No. I'm saying you do work late when you need to. I'm saying you do go the extra mile. You do give it your best shot because God wants us to be good stewards. He wants us to work hard. But what I'm saying is when you are busy, make sure you fill the tank. The busier you get, the more you need to fill. The more difficult your marriage, the more you need to fill. Because the moment you're full, that's when you start handling situations in a better way. Now, do you know God commanded us? Not made a suggestion, didn't just kind of slip it in there. He commanded us. Where he said, I want you to observe the Sabbath. Now, what is the Sabbath? It's a day of rest. It's when we can take time and fill the tank. Now, I want to just highlight this. Man wasn't created for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was created for man. So it doesn't have to be on a Sunday, but you need to find a day that works for you. You need to find time for you. God is saying this is important. It's so important, even God took time to rest. And I want to read that to you. In Genesis 2, verse 2, it says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work that he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Now you're saying, but Ryan, are you saying that God needed to sleep and to rest? No. In Isaiah 40, verse 28, it says he will never sleep nor slumber. But I don't believe God did it for himself. I believe God did it to show us what we need to do. He's saying, this is so important, let me model it to you. I will show you how to rest. And so he is telling you, you need to fill your tank. In fact, Jesus even did it. I want to read to you from Mark 6, verse 31. It says, because so many people were coming and going, that they did not even have a chance to eat. He said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." Now I want to say, if it works for Jesus, how much more so for us? If it was important for him to be filled, how much more so for you and I? And so, just on ending, I want to encourage you. Go home after the sermon and spend some time alone. Write down what fills you and what drains you. And start making time to fill your tank. If you're married, spend some time with your spouse. Swap notes. Get to know what fills him or her and what drains him or her. Spend that time with God, and what's going to happen? You're going to start to fill your tank. You're going to start to raise that serotonin level. What happens? Can you imagine if every person in this church went into their families, into their workspaces, into their social circles, and we were all filled to the brim? Can you imagine what impact this church would have? That's when we walk in and people go, "Wow, what did you get?" "No, man, I'm filled. I'm great." "What do you mean?" "No, I just started filling my tank and God's just been good to me." "Where did you learn that?" "Maranatha." "Oh, can I come?" Bring them, we'll show them how. You see, it's about keeping balance in our lives. We've got to work hard, but God says you need to slow down and fill your tank. Amen? Let's bow our heads, close our eyes. Lord, I just want to say thank you. Thank you that we can come here, Lord, and we can just hear this very practical message. Thank you that you love us so much that you tell us we need to enjoy life. And thank you for giving us so many things to enjoy. So, Lord, I pray that you're going to keep us safe, that you're going to bless our families and bring us back safely. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. See you next week.